All right, guys, so far we've been dealing with assignments, but we haven't looked at the set and reset instructions, so that'll be next. So other names for those guys would be latch and unlatch. So it says that there may be instances where you want to latch an output on without using the three-wire control that we saw in the previous exercise. Right, so with this one, basically everything in line with the set output needs to be true, right? So the result of logic operations for everything in series with this unit has to be true. If anything is not true, then obviously the set will not change from a 0 to a 1, right? So and there's a little bit of talk here, like what's an operand? An operand is an all-encompassing name that they give inputs, outputs, timers, counters. So when they say an operand is set to 1, they mean that an individual PLC instruction and its associated data is set to 1. So all the operands in front of this set need to be basically an RLO of a 1. If anything is a 0, then it's not going to set. The cool thing about this is that once it's set, it stays in that state until you reset that output. So in addition to the set, we have the reset. And again, anything that's in line with this unit needs to have an RLO of 1, right? So the result of logic operations for everything in series with this reset output has to be a 1. If anything turns to a 0, then it will not reset. Okay, but it's like a latching relay. You latch it on and then you latch it off. So what we're going to do is we're going to take our previous program, so the forward reverse program. So if you still have that open, keep it open. And we're just going to make some modifications, right? So let me just move this over here. Okay, so there it said that we're going to have the forward push button. And the forward push button is just going to control the coil. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to eliminate everything else here. And then the stop push button, so I'm going to change this guy to a stop push button. Okay, and the stop push button is going to control the same coil. So if I click on here, then that's going to control the forward coil. Now this will be interesting because we have the exact same, make this a little bit bigger, we have the exact same, easy now, output here, right? So let's see whether this actually works when we download it to PLC Sim. And from now on, I won't mention like what you're doing, like whether you're using PLC Sim or you're downloading to the actual PLC. You're going to keep going with whatever works for you because we've already covered all the steps to do both. Okay, so I've opted to go with the PLC Sim. So I'm going to go to my project view now. And I had already saved that simulation before under forward reverse. So I'm going to open that guy up. All right, guys, so program is up and running, PLC Sim is running, and I've got my Sim table set up from before with the same peripherals. So right now we have the forward push button that's going to turn on the Q0.0 and the stop that's going to turn it off. I found that this interesting was that I was actually able to upload this program even though I had multiple instances of Q0.0. So usually you're not allowed to use Q0.0 or any output more than once, right? So let's see how this works. So coming over here, I'm going to go to my sim table and I'm going to change the state of that bit there. We should see that the forward coil turns on. Beautiful. And let's see whether when we change the state of this bit again to a 0, whether it stays on now. Okay, so that doesn't really work, right? Because we have the forward coil that's turning on when I set it to a 1, and then it turns off when I set it to a 0. So there's nothing where it's actually being maintained, right? In order to maintain it, then I'd have to put that holding contact on the bottom there. But I don't want to do that. I want to make use of a set and reset. Let's try this actually, now that we're still here, before we move on and change those instructions. So my forward coil is set. If I make the stop true, let's see what happens there. Okay, so the stop doesn't turn it off, right? It just makes the forward coil true as well. And then if I eliminate this, then it still stays true. So right now I don't have anything where it's resetting the coil, right? It's just an instruction here. It doesn't know that that's my stop push button. It doesn't know that that's my forward push button. It just knows the status of this bit and the result of logic from that bit, right? So if this is true, then this is true. So the forward coil is turning on even when I hit my stop button, and that's not what I'm looking for. Okay, so next step would be to change these guys to a set and reset, right? So let's make these guys false now. Okay, so everything's back to normal. And now remember that we can click here and then it brings up all of the different assignments that we can make use of. So we're going to make this guy a set and we're going to make this guy a reset. Okay, keep in mind that this is the exact same instruction. We're setting Q0.0 to a 1 and then we're resetting Q0.0 back to a 0. Now, if I open this up, it shows me that there's a difference between what my PC has and what my simulation has. So I need to upload the changes that I've just made, right? So within the PLC sim, I should be able to download to my device and be able to be up and running within a couple seconds. So here I'm hitting load. Beautiful. Now you see that this takes virtually no time whatsoever. Nice, so now we're up and running again. Okay, so now let's try and modify this forward push button to a 1, right? So we're going to change the logic there, and that's going to set the Q0.0. And you'll see that the reset went green as well, right? So that Q0.0 is now a 1, right? We can see that the output coil, where's the output? The forward coil right here is now true. Okay, if I make that false, so I'm going to make the forward push button false, I'm going to change it to a 0, and we'll see whether this stays on here. Ooh, very nice. Okay, so the Q0.0 is still true, right? If we look at the forward coil, it's still true. So it's latched into that position. Okay, so the next thing would be to set this to a 1, right? So set the stop to a 1, and that should reset that Q0.0. Right, so that's come over here. So neither of these guys are true at the moment, right? So we're now going to set the stop push button to a 1, and that should reset that guy. Beautiful. Okay, so you see that it reset both of them because they're both the exact same address, right? They're both Q0.0. So now if we look at the forward coil in our sim table here, we can see that the forward coil is now false. Beautiful. So we'll revert this back to a 0. And now we've got an ability to set and reset the exact same address, right? So we don't have to make use of the 3-wire control that we saw before. It's really helpful to be able to set something, keep it going, right? And then reset it at a later time. Okay, be careful with this guy. The last portion of this write-up is that the set instruction changed the associated bit to a 1 if the logic that precedes it is true. That's what we saw. The bit remains a 1 until the reset instruction is activated. Yes. You'll notice in both the program that we just completed and the additional example below, so we're going to be doing this one next, guys. So next video is going to be on this bad boy. The open instruction, both the set and reset instruction, is identical. So that's a main thing in that the set and reset for our program that we just did was %Q0.0, and down here we're going to set and reset %M0.0. Okay, so you can see the set and reset here. Okay, be careful with these instructions as you can set and reset a bit multiple times in a program, and this makes troubleshooting a possible nightmare, right? So be careful of using this as a crutch to set and reset things. And then it also says, caution, Achtung, be careful using these instructions out in the field. To set a bit means that it remains in that state indefinitely until the reset instruction reverts the bit to a 0. Use caution when using these instructions where a safety hazard may occur. Remember that you are responsible for reverting all portions of the machinery to a 0 energy state if a power failure occurs. So it's fine to make use of these guys, but just make sure, like if you hit an E-stop or something, you want to revert everything back to a 0 state, right? So you want to be able to reset each of those instructions that were set earlier in your program. All right, guys, I will see you guys on the next video. The next video, we're going to take on this program right here, making use of both the set and reset, but also making use of some memory bits as well. All right, I'll see you in the next one.